Hello. Today I am talking about flours. I get asked all the time about flours. What kind of bread should I eat? What should I not eat? So today we're going to dig deeper into that for sure. For those that don't know me, my name is Jen Goddard. I am a board certified doctor of natural health, and I have a holistic health practice in Brewer, Maine, and I do work with people virtually all over the US. So, what's the deal? Why do we want to be more cautious with some of the foods that we eat? Well, a big reason is phytic acid. This is a problem in grains and legumes because they block your mineral uptake. Some people have enough phytases, which are enzymes that break down phytic acid in their gut. So, it's not as big of a deal as it is for some other people. But there are other issues too, besides just the phytic acid. There's anti-nutrients in grains and legumes, things like gluten. There are enzyme inhibitors, tannins, lectins, lots of yummy stuff. So you add that all together with the glyphosate and the GMOs, and it really injures our gut health to the point that the integrity of your gut walls becomes so compromised. And it leads to things like leaky gut, where nutrients and toxins actually start literally leaking out of your gut into places that they shouldn't. So proper preparation gets rid of these issues along with getting rid of the phytates. So what does that look like? I know it sounds like a lot of work. I know. But there are some shortcuts, and like anything else, it's hard until it's easy, right? Brushing your teeth was really hard when you were 3, but hopefully that's not hard anymore. So when it comes to things like nuts, because in this same category, there's a few different types of foods. So for nuts, I soak them for about 12 hours in some Himalayan salt, and then I dehydrate them. If I want just a trail mix, or recently I did them to put on top of some pumpkin muffins that I'm going to make. I've done it recently also for some homemade ice cream that I'm going to make. So those are some reasons or ways that you'd want to do that. If you can get them already done, there's a company called Wildly Organic. I order from them all the time for nut butters. Actually, there's some nut butters right back there. For nut butters, because, while doing it at home is great for the simple trail mix or something, when you get into the nut butters, it's, for me, that's the next step that I'd rather just buy it that way if I can. And Wildly Organic has some great options. Or healthy flour. There's a company called, and I'll show you their website in a little bit, so you don't have to worry about writing that down. You'll see it in a minute. But they will also do, if you want just the trail mix or the nuts separately, that are already done to add to recipes or things like that. For oatmeal, I'm asked all the time about oatmeal. I usually don't have room for oatmeal because I focus on making sure I've eaten all my nutrients first. But when I do want to have a little bit of that on the side, I get it from a company called 1 Degree Organic. They have a really yummy apple cinnamon oatmeal, and it's sprouted. If you go to their site, you're going to see that they also have some cereals that are sprouted and gluten-free. But remember, these are not nutrient-dense foods. So when you're thinking of what to give your kids for breakfast before school, or what are you going to eat for breakfast, there isn't any protein, there's no veggies in there, or fruit, okay, in a lot of cases, in most of these examples. So, and those are the things that are really going to make up the meal. Those are the hardcore nutrients. The cereal, the oatmeal, it's not a nutrient-dense meal. A little bit on the side of something is fine if you're also having your eggs and turkey bacon or something like that, to add the protein, and maybe an avocado and adding some fruit to it. These are things that are going to make a nutrient-dense meal, not cereal, not oatmeal. I don't care if it's sprouted. I don't care if it's the healthiest version of it. You're not going to get the nutrients that you need to sustain a healthy life. So quinoa, same thing. I soak it overnight. You rinse it, cook it, and then refrigerate it. Rice, I did a whole video on rice. That's a process. Takes about 26 hours for that process. Not that it's a hard process, but you want to soak it for at least 12 hours. Then when I cook it, I add a tablespoon of oil, rinse it out really good, refrigerate it for another 12 hours, then you can eat it. And then I'm asked brown rice, white rice. Well, white rice actually tends to generally have less arsenic in it than brown rice. So I do prefer white rice over the brown rice, and actually sushi rice is a good option. So now to grains, okay? Sourdough is always the best option if you're going to be making bread. If you have quicker needs, like you get stuck, sourdough is a process, right? So maybe your starter's not ready, or your starter failed, and you need to make something. So soaking your flour or using a sprouted flour, and I'll show you some of those examples too, can be healthier options. So if the flour is sprouted, then you don't need to soak it as well. But if you do soak it in addition to the sprouting and do both of those processes, it will add to the leavening and it'll add to the taste. So then some people say, well, should I sprout it or should I soak it? So sprouting is better than soaking because it does so much more for the grains and flours than just soaking them. So soaking can help to break down the phytates. The phytates are the seeds' natural barriers in the grains, okay, to protect them. And that will help your digestion getting rid of the phytates. But it doesn't change the seed from its dormant state to a living plant, a living food, okay? And that's when the nutrients happen. When the grains are sprouted, they're converted into a living food, all right, with more of those vital nutrients that your body can now absorb, as opposed to being blocked. So when that happens, when you sprout it, your complex sugars, those starches, they're broken down, and because of that, then the painful intestinal gas is eliminated. Potent carcinogens are removed, and enzyme inhibitors are neutralized. So then it will digest more like a tomato instead of a potato. Okay, does that make sense? Beans, I'm asked about. I just remembered I skipped beans. Beans, I'm asked about all the time. Like, how about in a can? Well, in a can, it's softened. Okay, but it's not soaked. It didn't have an acidic process to break those things off, so it's still not a healthy food. So with beans, same thing. If you're going to eat them, you'll see some options on Healthy Flour website. They have some options for some sprouted bean flours. And they do sprouted beans too, the bagged beans. So you could take those, soak them, okay, before you cook with them, and then that's going to be a healthier option. So that's a better way to do beans. But when you prepare grains this way, some people that have sensitivities to wheat, they find that they can actually digest sprouted grains without a problem. So and part of that too is there's more nutrients in it, right? Like we talked about. So the sprouting, you can increase the B vitamins in the grain. B's, B1, B2, B3, and B5 will increase. Biotin, folic acid, vitamin C, these also increase. Now, if you're sprouting something that doesn't naturally have those nutrients in it, or because of the quality of it, it doesn't have those nutrients in it, then sprouting isn't going to create these nutrients. So keep that in mind. It's increasing the vitamins that are already present in the grain because now your body has access to them. Unfortunately, organic means that your food doesn't have any chemicals or pesticides in it, and it's not GMO, which is great. That's important, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's more nutritious for you. So, that's just one piece of the puzzle. That means it's less toxic, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's more nutritious. So these are some things to keep an eye out. When you're sprouting it, you can also absorb more of the minerals, calcium, magnesium, iron, copper, zinc. If it's already in it, now your body can access it, right? So think about unlocking the door. It's kind of like unlocking the door to these things. If you want to dig deeper into some resources, some good resources, the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation, that's a good one. Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon, great resource, a whole book. There's a website, westonaprice.org, I think it is. But if you just Google Nourishing Traditions, Sally Fallon, ton of stuff will come up. And the Wheat Council is also a good resource too. So you can see that soaking can certainly make them more digestible, but it doesn't break down the grain starches or increase the nutrients in the grain. Your pancreas is still going to do most of that digestive work if you're eating soaked breads versus sprouted breads. So, hopefully that clears up some of the difference. If you can do both, fabulous. But if you're, and they come in handy, like I said, when you're not able to make a sourdough, when you're in a hurry, that can help save you some steps and get right to the baking. So it's a better option than just straight flour in a pinch. Then I'm asked, can you use sprouted flour for sourdough baking? Yes, you can. Sprouted flour can be used for that. It can. A lot of people say that it adds to the flavor. Definitely adds to the nutrition, because remember, sprouting it allows you to access the more nutrients that are in it. So if you take something that starts out with more nutrients, you're going to end up with something that's more nutritious, right? And it can give a better texture to the loaf too, if you're making a bread, for example. But I've been told I don't personally ferment because I don't make sourdough. I have other people that I rely on to do that for me, because I don't like to bake. I do it when I have to, but in general, I don't love it. So, and now that I don't live near my sister, she used to do a lot of my baking for me. I have other people that do it. So, but for those that do it, it will ferment faster. That sprouting process that the grain goes through before being ground into a flour, it helps the dough ferment faster. So it'll also require less kneading. And when you bake it with a sprouted flour, and like I said, it adds to the flavor and the nutrients that are in it. So how do you soak flour? So you take your whole grain flour and you can soak it, and you have to put it in something that's acidic that will help these things break down. So the most common is buttermilk. You can get raw A2 buttermilk in lots of well, in Maine, you can get it in lots of places. In Jersey, for if you're in a state where it's illegal to have raw dairy, like New Jersey, I know when I was there, I would order it in Pennsylvania from a farm. There's a couple of really good ones that are awesome. And then they would deliver it and I would pick it up in New Jersey. But buttermilk is probably the most common, and you want to soak it there in a warmer place for 12 to 24 hours. You can do it in the refrigerator if you want, but it's just going to definitely take 24 hours if you're doing it in the refrigerator. If you have a milk allergy, you can use 2 cups of your good, clean, filtered water, and then you can add 2 tablespoons of either way, lemon juice, vinegar, in place of the buttermilk, kefir, or even a yogurt some people will use. And then after that process, you can continue on with whatever recipe you're making, whether it's bread, pancakes, whatever. So let me share some my screen, and you can see some of these websites. Share screen, and we'll do, this one is healthyflour.com. So you see, look at all these organic sprouted flours, like everything under the sun. Amaranth, barley, black bean flour, brown rice flour, all the flours that are in there. Sprouted flour, sprouted grains, they have gluten-free options, legumes. So you can see organic sprouted black beans as well as the flour. So they have the flours and the whole bean as well. Simply sprouted snacks, they've got popcorn, organic sprouted popcorn. Remember, that's grain. Sunflower seeds, some granola if you want to get something that's already mixed up and made. So that's a good option. And then 1 Degree Organics. This is the other one that I was telling you about, where I get the oatmeal from. Let's see what they've got here. Here's your products. Here's your products. So they have oatmeal, cereals, granola, bread, seeds, flour, oatmeals. They have, this is the gluten-free apple cinnamon and oatmeal. This is so good. So good. And they have some options there. But again, okay, so you've got some fruit in there, and I always cut up apples and add it to it too. But so, again, there's no protein here, right? There's no vegetables here. You're getting a lot of fiber in with the oatmeal, which is great. But if you could add in some veggies, so if you could add in like maybe an egg omelet to it with some veggies in there, or even if it's just like turkey, bacon, chicken sausage, you know, put something on the side there so that you've got a good mix of protein along with some of these other things if you're going to make it a meal. Same thing with the cereal. Here are the cereal options. They have a brown rice crisp and then plain, so chocolate and vanilla if you want to think of it that way. Again, no protein here. Let's go on. Let's look at this label real quick. Nutrition, just to give you an idea. So carbohydrate count, 29. Protein is 2 grams. So you can see that you're getting some minerals in here, a very little bit of minerals. So you're getting a tiny little bit of minerals. You're getting a lot of carbohydrates. And that's pretty much the bulk of what you're consuming is carbohydrates. So when we think about return on investment, okay, how healthy is the food that we're eating? Yes, this is less toxic than the average box of cereal. Now, when you take down a box of cereal from the shelf in the food store, you might find that there's a lot more nutrients in there because it's been fortified. Fortified means that it didn't naturally have any nutrients, that they added chemical versions of nutrients. Still not going to have protein in it, but you might find more minerals in there. You might find more calcium. You might even find vitamin D in some of them. So you might find more of those nutrients, but it's because they added chemical versions of them, not because it's a nutrient dense food. And you're still going to have a high carbohydrate count, which means this is going to be expensive for your system. And only 2 grams of fiber, so that's 27 net carbs to a serving. And a serving is only 3/4 of a cup. Nobody eats 3/4 of a cup of cereal. I'm sorry, unless you're, I don't even know. I don't think anybody eats 3/4 of a cup of cereal. I know I'm one of 9 kids. Not one of us kids ever ate 3/4 of a cup of cereal. My boys, they never ate 3/4 of a cup of cereal. It was always double that. So you can see how expensive this is to the system, and you're not getting a lot of return there. So just because something is clean and it's less toxic doesn't make it a nutrient dense, healthier food. Wildly Organic, this is the company that I get the nut butters from. So they're delicious. They're just so good. And they have soaked and dehydrated nuts that you can see here. They have some almond flour, rice and grains. What do they have for rice and grains? I've never gotten their rice and grains, but let's see what they've got there. They've got, they just have chia seeds there. So not too big of a deal. Now, they do have some unique things in the coconut oil categories. They have a coconut syrup, MCT oil. And I know they have it because I have it. But dried fruit, gluten-free, natural sweeteners. Under natural sweeteners, they have a coconut syrup. So that is something pretty cool. They've got coconut sugar, prebiotic inulin powder. That's good. So hopefully that gives you some resources. One thing back to healthy flour, these guys have amazing recipes on here. Here, recipes. And cakes and cookies, pies and pastries, entrees. And these are all they use their sprouted flours, but they'll also tell you how to soak it too, even if you're using a sprouted flour. Like, for example, for breakfast, let me go there. I know they have Sally Fallon's pancakes on here. Sally Fallon's pancakes. So you can use whole grain flour, either spelt or wheat, they recommend. If you're doing the sprouted, that's even better. Buttermilk, again, raw A2 cows would be great. Eggs from pastured hens. Organic butter, same thing. Hopefully raw grass-fed cows would be great. And then soak the whole grain flour in buttermilk, kefir, yogurt. And then after it's done, then you can stir in the other ingredients. Thin it out as much as you want. If you want thicker pancakes, if you want thinner pancakes, and then you can go ahead and cook them. So that's a great resource there too. So hopefully you found that helpful. When it comes to, I know we're getting into, right now it's the beginning of September, and Thanksgiving is coming, Halloween is coming, Christmas is coming. So hopefully that helps inspire you. You can start looking at some of the recipes, maybe start practicing some of these. You start collecting some of these sprouted flowers, and so that when the holidays come around, you feel a little bit more prepared, a little bit more confident in what you want to make, and so that you can serve your family a really, really, really nutrient dense, healthy option. So if you have any questions, message me, leave comments. I'd love to know your experiences, or if you've tried things that you love, that you work. I'm sure these are not the only companies out there. They're just the ones that I'm familiar with. So feel free to share if you know of some as well.